Look out there, John.
What is this contraption?
Well, it's a device I made up for cutting sheet stock. We get this on the horses. It's got what they call roto hinges, which are like a little steel, piece of sheet steel with a dowel on each side, and you drill a hole and you glue those in, and they'll pivot both ways.
Huh.
It folds up for storage, and it's great for cross-cutting in this form, or I can flip it over and go the long way. So it's real good for sheet stock, and I put it out in the field with a piece of plywood on it and used it as a workbench. These roto hinges, you can get them in just about any woodworking supply catalog, and you can make something up like this pretty easily. I'm cutting the sheet stock to a manageable size before I proceed to the table saw. I'm able to make a high-quality cut by using a 40-tooth alternate top bevel blade. The good side of the plywood is down, so if splintering occurs, it will be on the back of the piece. The jig is simply a fence glued to a sheet of 1/4-inch plywood. By using a piece that is slightly oversized, the jig provides a perfect guide once you cut off the waste. What do you think of the quality of the cut, John?
Look at a little bit of whiskers.
Splintering.
A few whiskers, but nothing bad.
Well, let's take this jig off and take a look at the quality you'll see under here. This acted as a chip breaker. I think you'll be surprised at how nice this comes out. Of course, we have the good face down, which makes all the difference in the world.
Well, that's a perfect cut.
Isn't that sweet?
Yeah, that's as good as any table saw would have done.
So, we've got this cut down to size. I think we can take these smaller pieces of the table saw and not fight with them so much.
Excellent. If your table saw doesn't have an outfeed table, you'll need an assistant. During the first part of the cut, the assistant's job is to press the panel against the fence. Once the weight of the panel is balanced on the saw, the assistant moves to the back side to support but not to pull the panel. Roger is doing all of the pushing and guiding of the panel. His eyes are on the fence, not on the blade. My role is simply to support the weight of the panel as it hangs over the table.
We cut the part slightly oversized. Then we made a final cut to trim off the factory edge. That's so all the edges will be smooth and ding-free. That'll give us our cabinet depth, sides, floor. We'll have to trim this, but we're ready to go on the basics of the parts. In a typical kitchen cabinet or bathroom vanity, there's a toe kick at the bottom, which enables you to move closer to the sink or the work that you're doing without putting so much pressure on your back. When you align the top of the cabinet like so with the face frame, you should have 4 inches here. And that's the typical toe kick. That is, it comes up 4 and it goes over 3. So when we make the 3, we also have to account for the face frame, and the type of joint we've decided on really makes a little difference there. So I've come down from the top here and I measure the face frame. It comes down to the point of 30.5. To the bottom here is 34.5, which gives me my 4 inches up. You say, well, the typical kitchen cabinet is 36. And that's right, we've got allowed 1.5 inches for the actual countertop. So we can take this mark across like so. And I'm just going to lightly mark it this way because I'm not going over 3. I'm going over 2 1/4 because the face frame is 3/4 thick and it's going to go on the front, and that'll give us our 3-inch depth. So let's mark that. Now I can bring the 2 lines together. Now let me set the face frame off. And I've got another side there. Would you bring that up, John?
Sure.
Please? I've got it set so the good faces are both out. So let me copy that mark. First let me check. Yep, they're right on. So I'm going to make that mark there. And I'm just proceeding to take that mark across. And so now I can separate this, mark this across like so, and then down. Now some people might cut these with a handsaw. I like to cut them with a portable circular saw and then clean them up with a handsaw. There are a number of different ways of going about it. I've seen it done with a bandsaw. Maybe you have too. But for today's application, we're going to use a portable circular saw. And I'm just going to slip this over here so it's slightly off the work table. if you'll clamp that, I'll get the portable circular saw out. When I make the cut, I want to be very careful that I don't cut past here. I would sooner clean it out with a handsaw so that I don't dig into the cabinet. Now there's a little bit of wood hanging on. It looks like John's ready to cut that out. And by trimming that up, there's just a sliver because I had the blade fairly high. There's just a little pie-shaped wedge of wood. This is actually what was holding it, this little piece of wood right here, and that's the arc of the saw blade. So that's the technique. I think we're ready to do the other side, and we'll just proceed with that now. Okay, so now we've got the two sides ready to go. We have to determine the dados, and that's going to take a little layout and getting some other jigs and materials out.